Good morning. Welcome to Reading the Science of Mind in 1 year. I'm Reverend Rafe Ellis, Senior Minister and Spiritual Leader of the Center for Spiritual Living Common Ground in Central Maryland. Today is January 3rd, and I'm still in the process of refining this new offering. So this morning is the last time it will be offered at 10 a.m. I realized that to do this daily, I would be colliding with live streaming our Sunday service at 10 a.m. So I am shifting the time effective tomorrow to 8 a.m. And I invite you to join me at whatever time works for you. This is live streamed to Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch TV, so they're available to you at whatever time you choose to view them. It's the beauty of technology. It is helping us be more inclusive. So this morning's reading is a bit lengthy compared to what we have had. And so we're going to read through it, and I'm going to offer insights as I read through it. And I encourage you to offer your insights or your questions, your perspectives in the chat, and we can develop an ongoing conversation. Okay, here we go. So this morning we're reading from the Science of Mind textbook, which is The Science of Mind, A Philosophy of Faith, A Way of Life by Ernest Holmes. And we're reading from page 236, paragraph 3, through page 238, paragraph 2. Removing the complex. Suppose someone is constantly saying, everything is all wrong in the world. People are wrong. Things are wrong. Conditions are wrong. All is sickness and unhappiness. Nothing seems worthwhile. You, as a practitioner, must not be disturbed by this complaint. Now, practitioner, in the broadest sense, is referring to anyone who practices science of mind. There is a difference between a licensed practitioner and a practitioner of science of mind. So just know that as we go through this reading. It is your business to remove this complex, for these inner emotions create outer conditions in and through the body and are responsible for a great deal of sickness in the world. Treatments, and when Holmes is talking about treatments, he's referring to spiritual mind treatments, which is a method of prayer that helps us negate or neutralize, more accurately, neutralize thoughts that are out of alignment with spiritual principle and bring our thoughts and thus our emotions into alignment with spiritual principle. Treatment straightens out consciousness, awareness, by clear thinking. When the inner consciousness, our inner awareness, agrees with the truth, then and not until then, a demonstration takes place. Specifically, go over the thoughts which are wrong and use the power of your word to heal them. In layman's terms, that's where we speak truth to the lies that we're telling ourselves. Medical practice takes into consideration the thoughts back of disease and many eminent physicians probe deeply into the complex, the obsession, and the defense mechanism disclosed by the thought of the patient, which resulted in blindness, deafness, mutism, etc. In spiritual mind healing, we recognize that the cause is never material or physical. There is only one first cause. Now, when he's referencing first cause, he's talking about consciousness itself, energy, the quantum field. has many, many names. And so that's what he's referring to by first cause. Consciousness as the substance of creation rather than consciousness as awareness. But it is often necessary for the practitioner to diagnose the thought of their patient. In fact, this is an important point in healing. This is psychoanalysis, from psyche or soul. Psychoanalysis is the analysis of the soul or subjective mind. Its teaching is that within the soul, and soul in metaphysics is referring to the activity of creation as us. It is that activity of law, that receptive part of us that simply receives and makes it happen. It's not a human part of us. It is part of that creative process that just acts upon our thoughts. Psychoanalysis is the analysis of the soul or subjective mind. Its teaching is that within the soul or subjective mind, all the seeds of our thoughts fall, and that most of our physical troubles are caused by some inner conflict. The conscious mind, what we're aware of, desiring certain things which it cannot have, sends into the subjective thought opposing desires which conflict with each other and mentally tear or mind. And as they manifest in the body, they produce disease. It is claimed that 70% of all diseases are the result of suppressed emotions. Those emotions are not necessarily sex emotions, but may be any suppressed desire. It is probable that when Jesus forgave the man his sins, he realized that the man had a complex of condemnation within himself. The sense of condemnation which the race holds about itself weighs it down, and it must be removed. This explains why Jesus said, "Thy sins be forgiven thee." It is feeling that hurts. It has been said, life is a comedy to those who think and a tragedy to those who feel. We recognize that everything in mind is in mind, and that nothing moves but mind. Now, you'll notice here that mind is capitalized. That is referring to consciousness with a capital C, the source, the substance. And so we could read that as we recognize that everything is in consciousness, and that nothing moves but consciousness, but energy, but the substance, the quantum field. That intelligence is back of everything, acting through a thought force which is concrete, definite, and real. The reason people do not realize that mental healing is possible is that they do not understand the meaning of causation. They do not realize that intelligence is back of everything, that there is but one fundamental intelligence in the universe, and that the individual is simply a point where this one mind, consciousness itself, manifests as person. Disease must come through mind in order to operate through us. There is but one subjective mind in the universe, and we are always thinking into it. The practitioner talks with their patient, explains to them the law of mind, teaches them the way, diagnoses their thought, points out to them that certain mental attitudes produce certain physical results, teaches them how to be harmonious in their thinking, how to be at peace, how to trust and believe in the good, In other words, the practitioner lifts them up mentally and spiritually and supports their thought until they can stand alone. A practitioner must be filled with the spirit of divine compassion. We can't be effective by disconnecting, by separating. That's the biggest conflict that we all are trying to resolve anyway. That those thoughts that tear us apart, that create disease, are, my experience is, they're all based in some form, some version of separation. That place where it talked about earlier that we want things we can't have. We can't be separate. Sometimes we want to be. And that can go all the way back to that first sentence of how we're saying everything is all wrong and people are all wrong, and then we want to separate ourselves from them so we feel better. And until we deal with the feeling of separation and every illness that creates, we're just going to continue in that loop. And so we have to be filled with the spirit of divine compassion, a compassion that supersedes our human compassion. They must have a deep underlying sense of unity and sympathy, else they will do but little good. But they must not have sympathy with the disease. We can't feel sorry for each other. We can't feel sorry for ourselves. We can't feel sorry for each other and be effective. The only guarantee of our divinity is in its expression through our humanity. That is an incredibly powerful statement. That our divinity is expressed through our humanity. Too often I watch us divide the two. We deny our humanity in order to experience our divinity. And our humanity is divinity expressing as our humanity. We get to navigate all of those thoughts that separate us from that until we find our way home to an experience of wholeness that embodies our divinity through our humanity. Consequently, an enlightened soul understands the meaning of sympathy and exercises it, but not morbidly. And in today's language, I might substitute empathy for sympathy. And you get to navigate it however you navigate it. That's the beauty of what we're doing here, is that, we get to wrestle with it. We get to take it apart. We get to, what does this really mean? What do I think it means? What does it mean to me? And I can tell you, doing this year after year, in my own personal spiritual practice, my perspective changes. And so I invite you to read and reread and be open to allowing the process to change you. And so we're going to take this into our time of meditation. And then I will close us out with a spiritual mind treatment. And so I allow my breath to take my awareness deeper, deeper into a recognition that there is only one consciousness, one source, one substance, one cause. The creative process, consciousness moving into being, into form. Some recognize this one as God, some as spirit, some as the great mystery, some as nature. By whatever name we call it, it is beyond any one finite name. It is this infinite intelligence, this infinite substance, this eternal beingness that has no circumference, no edges, no limits. And so its very center must be everywhere present. It is eternal. Eternal in that it has no beginning, it simply has always been. And having no beginning, it can have no end. That everything is this one expressing itself. The unformed and the formed, the seen and the unseen, the heard and the unheard, the known and the unknown. Infinite possibility, continuously expressing through desire into that creative process and manifesting, animating itself. One whole, perfect, and complete substance. And so everything made out of it must contain it. Just as every ice cube contains water, and every drop of water contains wetness. Every expression of this infinite consciousness, this infinite substance, must contain the infinite intelligence that it is, must contain the wholeness, the completeness, and the perfection of the substance itself, must be fully empowered, containing the activity of the creative process, made out of it, by it, to be it. I recognize that I am it, that I am a physical manifestation of a desire of creation, of consciousness itself, to expand its experience of itself as this life that it is living as me. And what is true of me is true of all creation. And so I claim and affirm that every thought, every expression within my humanity that is out of alignment with the truth of being comes into awareness to be neutralized. I claim and affirm that the infinite intelligence that is the very nature of being knows exactly the thought of alignment to focus on, to heal every errant, misaligned thought. I claim and affirm the ownership through awareness of every feeling that is created and is creating every sense of separation, every dis-ease within humanity, recognizing that there is an impact in the whole body, that the plants and the animals and the gases and everything in this physical realm and beyond is impacted by every aspect and expression of it. And so as we expand together, we heal together. What heals in one place heals in every place. And so I commit myself to doing the work, not with hardness, but with gratitude that I get to do the work of awareness, the work of shift, the work of alignment, the journey home to the divinity expressing as my humanity. And I recognize that what I claim and affirm for myself, I claim and affirm for all, in the truth of oneness, in the truth of wholeness. I claim and affirm freedom, healing, alignment, an expression of the wholeness, the completeness, and the perfection of consciousness itself through all physical form, as all physical form. The harmonious operation of one. And so knowing that the word spoken is the healing, it is received in that soul, the activity of law, the subjective mind, and instantly manifested. That place where infinite intelligence knows exactly how to unroll the launch. And so I accept it as done. And I move through this day awake, aware, participating in the solution, noticing every opportunity to claim more divinity, to see more divinity, to be more divinity. So I release everything in the way. I release every thought, every feeling, every doubt, every fear, every shred of resistance. I release it all now. And claim and affirm the gift of the wholeness that life is. Ashe. Shalom. Aho. Amin. Amen. And so it is. Namaste.